He didn't need to scream to terrify the world. He didn't need violence, blood, or chaos. He simply looked into the camera, and the world stopped breathing. Anthony Hopkins is more than a great actor. He is an immortal monument of cinema, a storm beneath still waters, a figure who shattered the boundaries between performance and possession, turning characters into living, breathing spirits. The name alone invokes reverence. In Britain, he is a national treasure. In America, a Hollywood colossus. Across the world, a master of the human condition, capable of turning silence into thunder, stillness into power, and madness into art. He brought Hannibal Lecter to life with only 16 minutes of screen time and left the world haunted forever. But behind the cold brilliance is a story most never hear. A story not of lights and red carpets, but of loneliness, of addiction, of fire. A journey through fractured homes, estranged family, and the unrelenting silence of regret. A man who became a legend while quietly walking through hell. And now, at 87 years old, as the shadows of age deepen and the echoes of applause fade, the truth is clearer than ever. This was never just about acting. This was about survival. It began in the grey quiet of Port Talbot, Wales, December 31st, 1937. A working-class town of coal, steel, and silence. Born to Richard, a baker, and Muriel, a homemaker, Anthony was their only child. From the outside, their life was simple, honest, ordinary. But inside the mind of the young boy, storms raged. He struggled in school, deeply. Words didn't make sense. Reading felt like drowning. He couldn't connect, couldn't focus, couldn't belong. Teachers wrote him off. Classmates avoided him. "I was called stupid," he would later confess. "I had no friends. I was a loner." While other boys kicked balls in the yard, he sat alone at the piano. The keys didn't judge him. The melodies didn't mock him. Art became his only voice and his only refuge. He began to paint, to sketch, to imagine. Not to be praised, but to escape. Then at 14, something changed. A chance meeting with another Welshman, Richard Burton. Already a star, already an icon. Burton had walked the same streets, breathed the same factory-choked air, but had somehow broken free. Hopkins looked at him and saw proof. Proof that the world could be bigger than this town. That greatness could rise from the very soil beneath his feet. He didn't see fame. He saw a way out. Anthony Hopkins pursued drama with the fury of a man chasing survival. He entered the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama. Then, after 2 years in the British Army, he trained at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London. But the doubts never left him. Even as he graduated and joined the National Theatre under Laurence Olivier, he still felt like an intruder. A boy in a man's costume, a fraud waiting to be unmasked. Rehearsals weren't simply difficult, they were torment. Each role, a battlefield. Each failure, a knife. Hopkins later admitted, "The same insecurities followed me. They just wore new clothes." Then came the moment that changed everything. Laurence Olivier fell ill. The understudy Hopkins was thrust into the lead. It could have destroyed him. Instead, it revealed him. His performance in Dance of Death was seismic. He didn't just play the role, he devoured it. Overnight, the whispers began. A new titan had arrived, not with charm, with fire. He wasn't trying to be famous, he was trying to prove he belonged. And in that hunger, a legend was born. Cinema came calling. In The Lion in Winter, 1968, Hopkins made his film debut alongside Peter O'Toole and Katharine Hepburn. He was magnetic. Royal, haunted. Hollywood saw him and wanted more, but even as his star rose, the wounds remained. He would later say, "I never felt accepted. Not really. I was always running from something I couldn't name. It wasn't imposter syndrome. It was deeper. No matter how many sets he walked, no matter how many cameras rolled, he still felt like that lonely boy at the back of the classroom. That ache drove him and nearly destroyed him." Alcohol didn't appear as a monster. It came as a friend. A warm voice in the dark. At first, it dulled the nerves. Then it became the only thing that made life bearable. He drank before performances, after shows, alone in his dressing room, on set. In interviews, he would later describe entire films as blurs, days lost, weeks missing. In the mid-70s, it got worse. Blackouts, rage, isolation. He missed calls, lost roles, hurt those who loved him. His first marriage collapsed, his daughter Abigail drifted into silence, and he drank more. Then one night, he woke up behind the wheel of a car. No memory of getting there, only fear, only cold. That night, he stopped. He entered recovery and never looked back. Since 1975, Anthony Hopkins has never touched alcohol again. But the scars remained. especially the one that hurt most. I have no contact with my daughter, he said. It's her choice. Life is life. There was no rage in those words, only quiet resignation, only the sound of a man who knows he cannot rewrite the past. Then came the role that made him eternal, Hannibal Lecter. In The Silence of the Lambs, 1991, 16 minutes of screen time, 1 Oscar, decades of nightmares, Hopkins redefined villainy, not with gore, but with gaze, with intellect, with stillness, with complete command. Audiences were riveted, Hollywood was in awe, but behind the scenes the grind was brutal. Long days, endless shoots, sleepless nights. Hopkins gave everything to every role, and it cost him. He once said, "Fame means nothing, success means nothing. They don't fill you up." The applause was deafening, but his homes were quiet. He worked constantly, brilliantly, but came home, alone. Jennifer Linton was his second wife. 30 years, stability, kindness. But it wasn't enough. They had no children. And as time passed, their home grew colder. She held the house together while he drifted further into work and silence. She once told friends that it felt like pouring water into sand. Hopkins himself admitted, "I'm not good at relationships, I withdraw." By 2002, the marriage ended, not in fury, but in silence. Another fracture, another chapter closed without a word. Then, in 2003, he met Stella Arroyo. She was not from his world, a Colombian artist, joyful, bright, unafraid, and she didn't need him to perform, she needed him to be present. In her, Hopkins found something he had never had: peace, stillness, a home that didn't demand greatness, only honesty. There were no children, no rehearsals, just quiet mornings, paint, piano, laughter. He once said, "She saved my life." Their marriage became his redemption, a third act defined not by applause, but by belonging. But even peace comes with a cost. In the early 2000s, his London home burned to the ground. Rare paintings, scripts, awards, memories, all reduced to ash. In 2018, wildfires nearly reached his California home. And then in 2025, it happened again. Pacific Palisades, gone, completely destroyed. Twice in one lifetime, fire consumed his sanctuary. He stood outside watching the flames and said, "Things can be replaced, life cannot." For Hopkins, these were not just houses, they were the places where he rebuilt himself. To lose them was agony, to rebuild was power. No fire burns longer than grief. When his father passed, Hopkins said it was the worst day of his life. When his mother died, he confessed, "The house felt like it no longer remembered me." And now, at 87, his greatest battle is time itself. He speaks of memory loss, of names slipping through his fingers, of looking in the mirror and seeing not Hannibal Lecter, but an old man. In The Father, he portrayed a man losing his mind. He won an Oscar, but what audiences didn't know was how close that fear truly was. Still, he endures. Still, he paints. Still, he plays piano. Still, he lives. Today, Anthony Hopkins lives in quiet rhythm. He resides in California with Stella. He no longer chases roles, he selects them like rare wine. His net worth is estimated at $160 million. A portfolio of real estate once worth tens of millions. Malibu, Pacific Palisades and beyond. Much of it gone now. But he doesn't grieve possessions. He grieves absence, lost time, lost voices. And yet, he smiles. He honors his sobriety. He paints daily. He plays music for no one but Stella. And when asked about life, he says simply, "Life is very short. Be kind to yourself. It's all we have." He has won every award. Knighted by the Queen. Oscar winner, twice. Actor, composer, painter, survivor. But in the end, he is not a man of trophies. He is a man of scars, and through those scars, he became immortal. If Anthony Hopkins has ever moved you, in silence, in terror, in beauty, like, subscribe and leave a comment in his honor. Because legends don't just play great characters, they live them.